Identity is a complex thing. It's comprised of our beliefs and personality, and it influences our hobbies and interests. It's cyclical because our hobbies and interests will in turn affect our beliefs and personality. Identity is how we define ourselves, and it can change during different stages of our lives. For simplicity's sake, I've split identity into two categories, passive and active. And I'm going to talk about identity superficially, just things people see on the outside. Passive identity are the things you can't control, things you're born into. For example, I'm short, I'm Asian, and I'm male. I didn't choose to be any of that, but these things undeniably make up my identity. In my opinion, passive parts of your identity are the things you shouldn't be proud of or ashamed of. They're just things you were born with. I didn't have to embark on an epic quest to gain the right to call myself an Asian. I was just born that way. How is that something I can be proud of? On the other hand, there is active identity, and these are the things you should be proud of or ashamed of. They're parts of your identity that you've cultivated, that you've worked to develop. If you had asked me what my active identity comprised of a few years ago, I would have told you I'm just a uni student. I'm unremarkable in every way. And if you had asked me that question in high school, besides being a basketball fanatic, I wouldn't have known what else to tell you. My favorite player was Rajon Rondo. His passes were insane. Right now though, the biggest parts of my active identity are ultimate, writing, and teaching. These are the things I put my time and effort into, and out of these three things, I think ultimate and writing are things that will stick with me for life. My point is, identity becomes more concrete as you grow older, because as you grow older, you'll go through some tough times, but it's during these tough times that you'll go on a journey of self-discovery, whether you realize it or not. And it's for this reason that stories of self-discovery resonate so deeply with me. Watching characters struggle with their internal conflicts and then overcoming them is almost like a mirror to real life, because for them to overcome their internal conflicts, they have to go on a journey of self-discovery. When we are forced out of complacency and into a corner of emotional darkness, we tend to cling on to the things that make us who we are, or we go out and search for things that can get us out of that darkness. In essence, a journey of self-discovery is just reaching for the light at the end of the tunnel, because in our times of darkness, that's what we need, a glimmer of light. Barakamon, a story about Seishu Handa, more commonly known as Sensei, a young upcoming calligrapher who's been a shut-in his whole life, and because of that, he only has one friend. After displaying his work at an exhibit, the exhibit director calls his work plain and describes it as textbook. In other words, it lacks artistic flair and individualism. So Sensei responds by punching the director in the face. And you have to ask why. Why did Sensei react this way? He has an ego, a very large one, which leads to arrogance. To him, his calligraphy is something he spent years perfecting, and instead of taking the director's words and finding his own unique style, he takes it as an insult. Following this, Sensei's dad sends him away to an island where he spirals into despair and self-doubt. But he doesn't quit calligraphy. Instead, he clings onto it, and it is on this island that Sensei goes on a journey of self-discovery. As the villagers show him kindness, he gradually builds more intimate relationships with them, and he begins to realize his flaws and learn humility. In one of the episodes, Sensei comes second in the calligraphy contest and he is devastated. But by the end of the series, he enters another one and he comes fifth. But he's happy, because it wasn't the textbook version of calligraphy that he had practiced over the years and expected to win. It was his own style, influenced by the people and his way of life on the island. But what about when you have nothing to cling onto? When lack of identity is the cause of your despair? I think for most people, the most common thing that triggers a journey of self-discovery is a breakup. For me, it was no different. First year of uni, broke up with my girlfriend at the time, and I had nothing to attach myself to. I wasn't enthusiastic about studying, and I hadn't taken writing seriously enough for it to be a large part of my active identity. But my friend took me to an ultimate training session one day. I'm not sure if he intended for this to get me through the despair that follows a breakup, or if he just wanted to drag me along for the fun of it. But regardless, it helped. A lot. Ultimate became something I invested myself in. I spent more and more time indulging in it, playing, training, and even watching replays of high-level games. All that self-loathing and despair was overtaken by competitiveness and the drive to improve. It taught me that I could work hard, that I wasn't just a lazy bum making my way through life, although I still am, just to a lesser extent. 3 years on, Ultimate has become a large part of my active identity. It's something I can fall back on during tough times, something I can cling onto during my times of emotional darkness. But it wasn't just the sport that helped me, it was also the community. Before Ultimate, I was apathetic towards things and people that didn't concern me. But the Ultimate community is filled with all sorts of quirky characters from all walks of life. And every single one of these people I've met has shown me kindness and aided me in my growth, not just as a player, but as a human being. I've met people that I've become really good friends with. I learnt indiscriminate kindness. Kinda similar to Sensei, huh? Like a mirror to an anime. Active identity is important, because without it, it'd be difficult to stand on our own 2 feet. How can you enjoy the world for what it is and find your place in it if you can't even define who you are and work on improving the aspects of your identity that you hold dear? So go out and find those things. Find your active identity. Couple things to address in this end card. First thing, and the less serious thing, is the word Frisbee. It's in square brackets because it's actually trademarked by Whammo, so for legality's sake, we're actually not supposed to refer to it as Frisbee, which is why I constantly refer to it as Ultimate in the video. And second thing, and more serious thing, is that depending on who you are, the journey of self-discovery can take a couple days to a couple years. You just don't know how long it's going to take. But if you keep trying, one day you'll get there. One day you'll find your active identity. Or on the way, you'll find bits and pieces of it. And I think that's enough. Yeah.